Australian economy on the brink of hyperinflation? Well, let's take a look. I'm Rachel Jones and this is Kalkinemedia. Hyperinflation refers to the scenario of excessive inflation where price increases are rapid. In technical terms, hyperinflation is considered a situation where prices increase by more than 50% in a month or by around 1,000% in a year. Hyperinflationary scenarios were typical during the war when an absence of resources led to sky-high prices. Australia has seen rising inflationary pressure for several months now. These pressures have primarily emerged from the pandemic and the related policy measures taken to counter its effects. During the September quarter, the Consumer Price Index rose 0.8%. Meanwhile, in the 12 months to September 2021, the Consumer Price Index increased by a massive 3%. The transport segment saw a price rise of 3.2% during the quarter relative to the previous quarter. This was the largest rise in any sector within the economy and highlighted the huge supply chain constraints plaguing global economies. While the situation is gradually improving, market pundits advise businesses to remain prepared for further inflation levels. Most economies are undergoing similar conditions where price rises are occurring at unprecedented levels. Experts are sitting on the fence on whether Australia could sink into a hyperinflation scenario. The ongoing price momentum has not seen any considerable slowdown, fueling inflationary concerns. Meanwhile, supply-side bottlenecks combined with soaring demand appears to have created the perfect concoction of factors needed for hyperinflation. However, modern research suggests that countries are less likely to end up in such a situation in the present era. Current-day examples of hyperinflation are few and far between. Experts are hopeful that Australia will be able to weather this storm smoothly, though some help from the central bank might be needed. Interest rate hikes expected to occur later this year could cool off the price rises in the property market to some extent. Now, if you did like this video, you can like, share and comment on it. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get notifications for our latest videos. I'm Rachel, signing off for Kalkinemedia.